was 36 years ago this summer that I first joined Up in People. I was 32 years old at the time, and I had red hair. So you do the math. I'm now 53, and you can see what's happened to my hair. And for some of you, the percentage of your life that you've spent associated with other people is even greater. You might have joined in the early years when I did, but maybe you were only 18 at the time. And now you're possibly 50, and some of you don't have any hair at all. But whatever our percentages or our hair situations or whatever are, it seems to me that the central question, the interesting question we ought to be asking ourselves now on this occasion is, so what? So what? What difference does it make, really? What lessons did I learn? What character and personality traits can I trace back to my experience in other people? This morning I'm going to offer some partial and very personal answers to that question. What difference has it made? And my plan is to speak in clichés. Now, that may sound like an odd choice for a speaker, but here's my reasoning. Back in 1984 or 86, one of those years, I wrote a speech called "Keep Your Eye on the Ball." Yeah! I don't even remember writing it, honestly, but I do remember the response I got the first time I delivered it. I got a standing ovation for a speech based on what is arguably the most hackneyed and threadbare cliche in all of sports. But of course I realized that a phrase becomes a cliche because people say it over and over and over again. And usually people are saying it over and over and over again because it is on some level true. Keep your eye on the ball is really kind of good advice. Cliche number 3. The show must. It simply must. Now we were lucky, I think, to learn this lesson in a very literal way. It becomes easier then to apply it kind of figuratively to other situations in life. I mean, people say the show must go on who are not in show business officially. The Up With People show had to go on literally. Sponsors were counting on it. Promises had been made by PR teams. Prospective audiences had bought tickets. Not going on was out of the question. I remember a time when we were in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and we had about 13 inches of snow. And we had a show in Casper, Wyoming the following night. Nobody said, oh darn, I guess we won't be able to go to Casper and do that show tomorrow. We called the State Patrol or the Forestry Service or somebody, and they came out and met us and plowed away to the highway so we could get to Casper. The next day, showtime. During my second semester with Up In People, Cast B flew from Atlanta to Tucson, boarded buses, and went to Nogales to do a show. Unfortunately, our equipment didn't follow that route, and in fact, we didn't know where it was. Nobody knew what happened to the equipment. And the instruments. We later heard they're in Las Vegas. Las Vegas? No, they're in California. California? Well, my host home became command central, trying to find the equipment and trying to get it to know. Why we had a show that night? Of course, the shows in Mexico are real late. Some ungodly hour the shows. And we were going to do 2 of them back to back. We were going to do the show, clear the auditorium, and do another show that very night. Well, I I mean, it was 7 o'clock at night before we even heard that the equipment was on its way. So it was like 9:30. I mean, we slapped that stuff on the crew slapped that stuff on the stage and then got it up. But the first show went on at maybe 10 o'clock at night. But, you know, they came out enthusiastically. They, you know, don't keep it to yourself. Give it away. And I go, wow, that's amazing, because we've been sitting around all day. Well, then that show was over. We had like about a 15-minute break while they cleared the house, during which time I heard people say, I can't do another one. It's not in me. I'm spent. I'm exhausted. This is not going to happen. But you know what? At about 1 o'clock in the morning, the overture began. And the next thing I know, I mean, I'm sitting in the front row going, oh my God. The next thing I know, the doors that we entered from the back of the theater at that point, the doors burst open, the cast thing, don't keep it to yourself. Give it away. Like the, gee whiz. I mean, I would have thought that was utterly impossible. But by God, the show went on. Now, I am no longer affiliated with a show or a theatrical production of any sort, and you probably aren't either. But we all have our shows to put on, do we not? Some days your show might feel like a 3-ring circus. Some days it might involve a lot of juggling and tightrope walking and jumping through fiery hoops. Some days you get to play the lead in your show and it rests on your shoulders. Other days you have to play second banana and wait in the wings while somebody else gets the credit. But however it works on any given day, I figure we're all in show business of one sort or another. And our shows have to go on. It helps to have had an experience in a real, complicated, many-faceted musical production that demanded concentration and stamina, sharing of the spotlight, patience, humility, courage, consistency, and working in clumps. It was good that nearly everyone's association with that show lasted a year, because that meant we had to learn to put that show on and on and on and on. We had an opportunity to learn about the long run. I think one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned about the long run, actually this wasn't an other people experience, I learned this from Carol Channing. Do you know Carol Channing? Really? That's good. Carol Channing, great musical comedy star, who originated the role of Dolly Levi in Hello, Dolly. Of course, I'm sure when she took on that role, she never suspected that she would end up playing it more than 5,000 times. I saw Carol Channing in Hello, Dolly when she first opened in New York, 1964. My sister and I sat in the 4th row, center, and watched Carol Channing play the heck out of Dolly Levi. I mean, she looked like she was having so much fun she could hardly keep from laughing out loud.